And now, here is Coretta McDonald, Member of Parliament and host of Advancing the Cause.
Well, hello, good evening to all of you, and welcome to another episode of Advancing the Cause. Yes, we're a bit late this evening. So many things happening. The traffic congestion is so much. And of course, I want to be able to come here to look good in studio for you people. I'm happy that you are here and that you were waiting to join us. This says to us that what we share is authentic and we give you all the highlights of what is happening. This evening, we're going to be talking about some issues of national importance. And before we start, I want to say happy birthday to quite a number of people who would have quite a number of persons, as a matter of fact, who would have celebrated their birthdays today and yesterday and the day before, and who's going to be celebrating their birthday tomorrow. But topping that list is a very fine young man, Mr. Paul. So happy birthday to you, my dear. I trust that God is going to continue to bless you richly and give you the kinds of energy you need to continue to expose corruption in this country. Do enjoy the rest of what is left of your birthday. As a matter of fact, you have an entire year to celebrate this birthday. So do that in fine style, my brother. And going on, we have quite a lot of other persons who would have celebrated their birthdays. I know there's a Robin Chester who would have celebrated her birthday. Happy birthday to you, my dear, and continuous blessings to you. And for all those who would have celebrated their birthdays, happy birthday to you and God's richest blessings. We are going to go straight into our highlights for this evening. First, topping the list, I want to make it clear that the change of name for the Felix Austin Police College is just a word, and this sounds very similar. It sounds very familiar. Just the other day in Parliament, we had a change of word. Instead of one word, you use another word, and instead of this one, you use encourages, and instead of a month's time, you use reasonable time, something to that effect, which for me is a whole lot of foolishness. People pay the people. If people work, don't allow them to wait for 3 months. We can fix the system, but it seems as if persons don't want to fix the system. But here we go. The name of the police training college is going to be changed to Felix Austin Police Academy. Felix Austin Police Academy. Academy, big fancy word, we sound it makes us sound intelligent. But I hope that the work we are going to be doing there is going to be work that will set those young police officers on top of their game so that they can go out there and really protect and serve with dignity. And then, well, I don't know. Y'all hear this story here. We had the reopening of the sugar estates. But yet we're buying sugar for $150 per pound. Sugar that we're producing right here, I said that last week, sugar that we're producing right here, $150 per pound for that sugar. And yet we're not even able to get the sugar. We have to line up for the sugar, and then there's a stipulated amount that you can purchase when you go there. I really don't know where we're going. How is it that we're pumping all of these monies into the sugar estates, and yet we can't have enough sugar? As a matter of fact, I heard persons complaining that when they go to the supermarkets, what they're finding is imported sugar. So come on, guys, Suko, come on, Mr. CEO, come on, Mr. Vice President, and all of you who pump in all these monies, Mr. Finance Minister. Yes, I know that you folks are installed and you really don't understand what is happening, but this is a way of keeping your supporters clung on to you by telling them you're going to revitalize and to bring to life again sugar that is dead, sugar that the world over is saying we're not going to be producing sugar. Well, I know how y'all gonna make it up, but y'all try. And then outside of the sugar, we had the whole big talks about the rearing of black belly sheep, rearing of black belly sheep. I'm wondering though, how many citizens benefited from this initiative? How many citizens really benefited from this initiative? I'd be happy if the Minister of Agriculture would have a press conference or do some little little note at the bottom of our television screens when you were doing the programs at NCN and on the radio stations and say to this nation, how many citizens of this country would have benefited from the rearing of the black belly sheep? And then we had the building expo. Well, the building expo that was an expo by itself. We got people getting a sling of cement and the steel. Yes, steel. S-T-E-L, no, S-T-E-E-L, steel. But you know what? Just a few benefited from that. Just a few persons benefited from that. And this is what we keep talking about. If you're going to put initiatives out there, then many of our citizens should benefit, not just a few, because so many other citizens who have to embark on building their homes, they got to go face the black market prices because many of these items that they need, they're not in stock at this time. And so they have to face the black market prices. So don't come out here to tell us a whole lot of fancy nonsense, don't come with your whole lot of fluff and bluff. Oh, we're giving a sling of cement and we're giving steel. Tell us how many persons will benefit from that. Tell us who the companies are that you're giving it to. And then the entire nation would know who are the elites that we're talking about that are benefiting. As a matter of fact, the 3 F's, friends, families, and the favorites. Then all of a sudden, we got now the cash grant, the $30,000 that the students and pupils are going to be receiving, the cash grant. And it's a big thing about this cash grant, you know, it's a big thing. I don't want this ought not to be a big thing because it's what the people of Guyana deserve. Our mothers and our fathers, they deserve that. Our children deserve that and even more. And so as a government, you owe this to our people. Because of all of this happening, you owe this to our people. So don't come here as if you so care and you this and you all kinds of things. Because you just don't care. You just don't care. So don't come here bluffing people. But my friends, citizens, you take the $30,000 because it belonged to you. And then while we're going with the $30,000, we recognized a strange phenomenon just about yesterday, I think it was, where it seems as if we finally found the Sue. And so Sue is now being sued for $50 million. $50 million we're suing Sue for. And we couldn't find Sue all the time, but all of a sudden, Sue has been found. And if that was not enough, well, you know, the vice president went to the US to give the people their COVID. And if no, I'm not gaffing here, and this is nothing untruth. The vice president has been tested positive for COVID. So while everybody else mamagaying themselves around the US, the vice president is being isolated. As a matter of fact, there's a press statement to that effect. So you see, I'm not saying anything that is untruth. And like I said to you, every time we come out here, we say the things that are truthful. We give you all the matters, we highlight all the matters of importance. And so you see there, the vice president, on official visit with his president, he has been tested positive for COVID. Well, I don't understand how he went out there, showed no signs, and was tested negative, and then all of a sudden, by the time he touched down there, he shows up as being positive. Well, you know, the US folks have got to be careful, and all of them sit down in that meeting without any mask. It's a serious thing, eh? It's a serious thing. And so, folks, be on the lookout. You notice how many people got hung up on all kind of thing from the vice president when he was at the Guy Expo, at the building expo, sorry. You better go check all yourselves. You better go check yourselves. because you might be one of the victims of COVID too. So go out there, put on those masks. You notice every week I'm saying to you, put on your mask, put on your mask, wear your mask, sanitize as often as possible, because you can't take chances. And some of these people are very ridiculous. So make sure you do the things that are right. And I hear Gail get it too, eh? I hear Gail get COVID too. And I'm not here happy about this, but I have to let the nation know, because this is what happens when people who are holding high offices, when you are infected and you're not well, then the nation must know. Sherrod Duncan had COVID, and that was publicized. Christopher Jones, the Honorable Christopher Jones, had COVID, and that was publicized. So I don't want people to feel out there that I'm rejoicing. I'm alerting the nation as to what is happening. And it's a fact, 2 of them have been tested positive for COVID. And, recently, just this afternoon, I noticed a little, I saw a little note on Facebook, and it came from the Honorable Sanjeev Datadeen. And it was addressed to Attorney at Law Darren Wade. And he was saying to Darren in that little note, Darren, and I quote, Darren Wade, forgive me. I thought that as a lawyer, you understood that a MOU is a contract, and every contract is binding and tangible. Well, I want to say to Sanjeev, tell that to your friends, tell that to your president, tell that to your Minister of Finance and so many of your other colleagues who are ministers. Tell them that a contract is binding. Because I can say to you, many contracts were signed and they refused to honor them. They refused to honor them. One in particular, the contract between the Guyana Teachers Union and the government of Guyana. The PPP came in and they've decided that they're not going to be honoring the contract. They're not honoring some parts of the contract. A contract is not made up of a piece. It's not a piecemeal thing. It's an entire document. So tell that to your folks. Tell them to honor that a contract is binding and they should honor every single aspect of it. Well, we got another big story to tell you. Another big story to tell you. And this story is, well, I know by now, many of us have recognized that 8 opposition members of parliament have been suspended. Well, I know what happened. I know what breeze blow. I know what wrong thing to write in the letter, but some of my colleagues have received a letter from the clerk of the assembly withdrawing that suspension letter. Well, boy, this is joke. This has got to be joke. These people, they're so obsessed with power, and they're so obsessed with oppressing people that apparently, I want to say, I am almost certain that letter was not written by the clerk. Somebody else dictated that letter. Somebody else wrote that letter. And now they've recognized that something wrong in the letter. They're pulling back the letter and they're seeking legal advice. Man, these people full of jokes. Full of jokes. And you know why these things happen? These things happen when you're installed. When you're installed, you don't know how to operate, so you behave anyhow, and then you start getting lashes for all the wrong things you're doing. Like Anil the other day, when the judges from the CCJ put some lashes on him. Yes, and if you notice, Anil been losing lots and lots of the cases. But that happens because is a QC boy who borrowed the notes when he was in law school. If not me says so. But you know what? We are not going to go too much into many more of our highlights. We have 2 of our guests in already. And of course, they're no strangers. We're going to bring them right in, and we're going to have them talk with us and let you know what is happening. So, operator, could you bring our 2 guests in? I know that, yes, we have here Mr. Crawford, and we have the Honorable Annette Ferguson joining us too. Good night to you folks, and how are you doing?
Good night, everyone. Can't complain.
Good. Well, Junior, you notice I had some highlights there. Oh, yes, we have the Honorable Annette Ferguson popping up. Annette, before you say anything to us, anything further to us, tell us whether just say yes or no. Did you receive a letter that is withdrawing your suspension letter, the one you got before? Yes or no?
Since the question is a multiple choice type one, it's easy for me to respond. So I'll say no. Yeah.
Also,
No.
you did not receive?
Listen, if I got a letter withdrawing the initial letter, oh yes,
Yes.
I did. I'm in receipt of a second email to that effect.
Okay, all right. Well, we'll talk about that a little later. But
All
this
right.
evening, we want to talk about matters of national importance. I know we have the issue of the Lancaster Hochstyle, that NDC, quite a lot of issues burning there. And then, Annette, we've got some other issues coming down your stream that we want to really, really talk about. I noticed we have returned to being a narco state. Junior is something that I want you to tap into too. I noticed our chairman there of the aviation board. He has worked very, very hard. And of course, Annette is going to tell us some more about that. But Junior, let's talk about what's happening at the NDC there, the Lancaster Hochstyle NDC. What's happening with our people there? I noticed you had an accident just around that Alness turn there where this wicked group of people would have removed the street lights.
Well, they didn't remove the lights.
Well,
What
no,
they did
turn
is
off the
they went
lights,
up,
sorry.
they turned off the light. Well, there was a hit and run on Saturday night. The driver drove off. Fortunately, the motorcyclist wasn't seriously hurt. But that's just the beginning because you know the area, and it's a raceway at nights. And my thing is, if I'm speaking out against the current administration, I'm not speaking out because I want to be spiteful or hateful. I'm trying to point out the weaknesses and the wrongs that are being meted out to certain Guyanese or groups of Guyanese people. You shouldn't, take spite and saying that, you're going to retaliate against what I'm saying to turn off the lights around my home. I don't care if there's lights or not. I don't be on the road, so I don't care who dies or die not. But the fact is, if you're a government, you must be for all. And we have seen that the coalition, when they were in office, they were a government of all Guyanese. You can't hear anybody saying Mr. Granger was selective in the way he treats people. And I don't know what is so hard for this administration, installed or not, to treat all Guyanese with respect. You came in under severe questionable circumstances. Aren't you supposed to be much more loving to the citizens? At the end of the day, the citizens are the ones who have the power. And for some reason, Guyanese people don't want to believe that they have the power. And they're being led around with rings on their noses. This is not the way for us to behave in the 21st century. We have a common goal to improve the country. So all of the citizens here will, be well taken care of. As for employment in this NDC, there's not much option other than going to the cane fields or the seasonal with rice. They're not going to push any objective in here. They're not helping. They wouldn't even give the NDC any help with drainage. They did a few canals, but the little ones, nobody cares. They're not bringing back the machinery to help for us to do what we have to do to have a healthy environment. So you're seeing that the attitude towards certain sectors are not there. It's bad.
So, Junior, I spoke about the black belly sheep, and I'm trying to figure out how many persons within that stretch. We're not talking about the entire quarantine. We're not talking about the entire Region 6. We're talking about how many persons within that stretch who would have benefited from some of the black belly sheep, the rearing of black belly sheep that the minister always boasts
Well,
about.
well, if I say that I've heard of anybody in this NDC benefit from that, I would be lying. I don't think I've heard anybody talked about it. I'm not seeing anything because if somebody started to benefit, we would have known.
Of
And I
course.
don't think that is here. Those things are selective. You have to be connected to get things done.
Mhm,
And
mhm.
it's a sad situation.
And this is what we're saying all the time. This one Guyana crop that you hear people jumping up and talking about, there is no one Guyana. What we have are the three F's:
Correct,
friends, families, and the
correct,
favorite. That's
Coretta,
what we have.
Coretta, that one Guyana is there. And I am sorry to say it, I may sound racial. The one Guyana is fully operational for the PPP supporters.
Well,
If you look at who is having the benefits financially, you will see what I'm talking about. And it's blatant. And then you have some of the black henchmen who are selling their souls for peanuts to, to do the house slave work. They don't have no dignity, they don't have no morals. They're just soup drinkers. They're very, very powerful with some long guns in a group. By themselves, there are some wusses. So there is that option is benefiting. Trust me. You're seeing the blatant money giveaways to certain sectors where it entails certain people. And this is where the opposition has to become very, very vocal and very, very aggressive. This passive, reluctant behavior to step and take the heat needs to stop. You need to take the heat. That's the only way you can assume office. You have to be out there. You have to be a fighter. You can't just fight for 2 days and then go back into the shell for 2 weeks and then come back out. You have to do it. The PP has always been attacking. Even though they're doing their wrong, they're always out there. And that is what we are feeling as a coalition team. We need to get it out. I mean, some of you MPs are very vocal, and the rest, there needs to be an agenda set and a weekly assessment of how you guys operate with other CEC members to get on the ground and to mobilize people and to always be there. That's the only way you can get, a resistance going. Before you know it, it's going to be 2, 3, 4, 5 years. You check how many billions of dollars will be gone.
mhm,
$400 million out of the NRF fund.
mhm.
You guys passed a budget of 44 plus billion. Gaisuku is getting more money again. And you're paying 4 pounds of low grade sugar for $1,000. A little mini squash for $400. You know, how are we gonna operate? We are paying $5.42 US dollars a gallon for gas, and nobody is trying to bring it down. Cost of living is over the roof, and yet nobody is trying to subsidize the gas price. So when the common citizens look back, are you really being cared for? No, you're being used, just like the Barbies Bridge. It was built by the PPP for us to be able to access services in Georgetown. Look at the price tag. So they come and they tell their own supporters, oh yeah, we did all these things to you, and then they rape you at the bridge. Because most of the people using the bridge are PPP people going to town to do business when they were centralizing everything. So you had to business that you could have done in Region 6, you had to go to Georgetown. So you are spending more, and they're raping you at the bridge. That's the basic service and goods for the people to traverse. So what did you get? They just have an alleyway to get into the pockets of the money they give them early in the year. That's how they recycle the money back out. But we are too narrow-minded and too racist to understand that we are not really benefited. Go to the market and hear the cries. I have people that contact me on a daily basis complaining about the cost of living and how hard it is. And mind you, many of them are PPP people. but they choose to talk to me because at least I can be approached and I would listen. I would not be aggressive to somebody because I know you're a star PPP supporter and be disrespectful. My focal point would be we are Guyanese, so I must listen to them. Even though I don't have a political position, I am a concerned citizen. And my concern is where we're heading as a country. And it's really, really, really sad to see that the people of this country is allowing a selective few to manhandle them and to put them in such a subjective position. For what reason, I don't know.
Well,
we have to stop voting for race, and I've been saying that for 3 years. Vote for progress. If it doesn't work, go for somebody else. But stop voting because your grandfather and your mother and your aunt and everybody voting for this party. It doesn't work. Because when you're hungry, who's there to help you?
You can't go to them.
Right. And that's my point.
As a matter of fact, we have so many of our teachers, so many of our nurses, so many of our policemen, so many of our public servants who have voted for the PPP. So many of our market vendors who have voted for the PPP, and they're all crying out at this time. All of them are crying out at this time. So it's a matter of what do we vote for? Do we vote because me want ban PPP or me want ban this?
That's a stupid mentality. But I'm glad you brought up the public service people. Look at the blatant disrespect meted out to the public servants that keeps this country running. No help for them, no increase, no stimulus package. All because the majority of the public service people are supposedly African bloodline Guyanese, right?
But
you see how these people, you see how the game is played?
Let me stop you for a while, Junior. I noticed Mr. Ravi Parshram. Good night to you, sir, and I'm happy that you're watching this program. But let me play this one for you. This cost of living is a worldwide thing. And this is the kind of foolishness, St. Lucia. This is the kind of foolishness that we always want to throw into the basket. When things are not right and you talk about it, these fools come to tell you that cost of living is a worldwide thing. But look at what is happening in St. Lucia. Operator, could you widen that a little? Look at what is happening in St. Lucia. That's a caring government. Look at what is happening in St. Lucia, Ravi. Look at what is happening in St. Lucia. The government in St. Lucia, this is what they're offering to their people. Yes, it's a worldwide thing, cost of living everywhere, but look at what they are offering in St. Lucia for their people. So don't come here to tell us that it's a worldwide thing. We got oil here. And because we got oil and we drawing down on oil money, we must look after our people, put stimulus packages in place for our people. In the US, they're doing it there. So done with that crap that you're coming here to put out there. You have that there, operator? Yes. Don't come here to tell us foolishness. Look at what small islands are doing, and we got plenty resources here. So you are a mentally lazy supporter. You don't understand. Yes, Junior, let's continue on that.
Coretta, I know that Sister Annette.
I needed to highlight this one.
I understand. Well, when you have distractors like that on your program, you have to just take them off, so they won't distract you. Now, this food crisis, Michael Manley, what's his name, Barros, Eric Williams, and Fawaz Burnham saw this many moons ago. And this situation that we are facing now, these were the topics of the 70s for us to be self-reliant and able to avoid this situation that was coming. So what we're in now, we went away from it after even Dr. Jagan touted we must eat what we produce, right? And rely less on foreign imports. So all of these things that we are facing now as a nation, we could have avoided it. But when you're in a rat race, everything is for money. You're setting out everything. You're not putting the people at home first. everything is about a profit because the care and the love for each other has deteriorated as a society. And when you didn't have price control and quality control and quantity control, this is what is the end product. And some people alluded that we may have been selling stuff on the black market and not knowing what we were doing to our home supply. So all of these are things that we
Yeah.
have to look into. And again, when you don't have proper dialogue with the opposition, you tend to do as you please. And this is the problem with our country. The opposition is being pushed aside. Unlike Mr. Green this time, he had discussion where a lot of people were saying don't discuss. He followed the laws of the country and had discussion before he did something. You're seeing this government, they're not talking to the opposition. They're just doing anything out of thin air, and nobody is seeing the benefit for the country. Can you guys, you and Sisanet, say what has happened to the 400 million that was taken out from the NRF fund? Can you guys tell the listeners and myself, where that money was spent? Sisanet, I know you're very good with the numbers. So can you shed some light there? I know you got 9 lives,
Go again,
You're the
dear.
superstar here.
Mm-hmm.
So can you just tell us what has happened with the withdrawal of the monies?
With your permission, Coretta, since you're the host of the program and we're
Go
just
right ahead.
guests, I just need your approval to respond to
Go
brother.
right ahead. That's
All
why
right.
you're here.
Good. Well, even before I respond to brother Crawford, allow me the opportunity to extend a pleasant night to your listening viewers and those who have tuned in, whether home, here, or abroad, and also to thank you, Coretta, for allowing me to appear once again on your program. And as I'm here publicly, earlier today, many of us said farewell to a loved individual, Sister Pauline Lucas, former REO of Region Number 4, was laid to rest today. So once again, my condolences to Ken Dika and the rest of the family. So I joined the family earlier today to pay my respect. But to respond to Brother Crawford's question, may I say this? When the NRF bill was amended or repealed, the bill of 2019 was repealed to have the new bill which was passed. It's still high in controversy. In 2019, the bill, no, 2021, that is the 29th of December 2021. Coretta, you would recall that even at the level of the subcommittee committee of the National Assembly, we names were proposed for persons to form the oversight committee. And what we found is that those persons who were actually named, right, to form this board, we haven't heard much from these people. I think, if my memory serves me accurate, it was Dunstan Barrow, one person. I think Joe Singh is another person. I'm trying to remember the other person. We haven't heard from these individuals what have been their plans, what have been their approvals for the monies being debited from the Natural Resource Fund. But what this nation is aware of is that in May of 2022, 46 point something million, if my memory serves me accurate, US was actually withdrawn. 200 million, 200 million US was actually withdrawn from that Natural Resources Fund. We are yet to know the first tranche, what this first tranche was spent on, because nothing came to the National Assembly for us to debate and for us to approve of these money. Just this 2 weeks ago, this nation was told that another $200 million, US that is, has been withdrawn from the Natural Resources Fund, bringing a total of some 83.3 billion Guyana dollars. So, Mr. Crawford, listeners and viewers, the National Assembly is yet to know where this $83.3 billion will be catering for. And you see, that is why we were very mindful when the APNU created that law. We said that a separate account will be in place, and monies will come directly from that account to do whether it's infrastructural development, and I think 3 other things that I just can't recall at this juncture. But since the repealing of the 2019 Act to be replaced with the 2021 Act that was passed on December 29, 2021, what this government has been doing thus far from the 2 sets of tranches that they would have taken out from the Natural Resources Fund is that they've commingled this $83.3 billion into the consolidated funds. So in simple explanation, Crawford, we don't know what is 83.3 billion will be taken care of. All we're seeing happening around this country is a set of infrastructural development, whether roads, bridges, and you know that's where the corruption takes place. Last Thursday's sitting, they came with a supplementary paper number 1 of 2022, seeking in excess of 45 billion Guyana dollars yet to be approved by the National Assembly, which will be approved come August 8th, in another 2 weeks' time. And we know, Coretta, we know, whenever you ask the hardcore questions,
They just don't
that
answer.
impartial speaker, he shuts you down. So 552.9 billion was approved in February of 2022 for the national budget. You understand me? Crawford? So now you come in asking, for $45 billion. And let me tell you something. All the ministries, if there are 13 ministries, all the ministries will be benefiting from a supplementary provision from this 45 billion. Well, I want to know what percentage of the Ministry of Public Infrastructure, who got in excess of, I think, if my memory serves me accurate, 30-something billion Guyana dollars. They got to tell us. Though I'm suspended, I hope that when this paper is being considered, my colleagues will ask the hardcore question. We want to know how much percent of the 552.9 billion that was approved in February, how much was spent across these ministries? And what are these monies for? Because in the explanatory, in the remarks column, it is not helpful. It is not helpful.
Anna, sorry to interrupt, but can you tell the listeners, and I guess Coretta and myself would want to know, when you were Minister of Housing, can you tell us how many roads you were responsible for to construct under your ministry as a housing minister, as compared to the Minister of Infrastructure, Patterson?
Well, to be honest,
or in other words, did you construct your ministry? Were they responsible for constructing any public roads under your tenure?
I'm gonna answer this because sometimes we get mixed up with responsibilities. The Ministry of Public Infrastructure is responsible for all public and main access roads, bridges. That's the responsibility of the Ministry of Public Infrastructure.
Right.
The Ministry of Housing, roads in communities, whether in Diamond, whether in Parfait, whether in Eccles, whether in Monrepo, community roads in housing areas, that falls under the Ministry of um of um of housing and water. So that's why when new housing schemes are being developed, they got to ensure that roads,
The
community roads are
infrastructure.
designed and all the necessary infrastructure are in place. So that is the there's the two responsibilities of the two ministries.
My reason for asking you that question, that bypass road that is there with the Jumbie bird at the head of it, who was responsible for building that road? Was it housing under this administration?
Yeah, housing under this
Have you,
administration.
good. That is not a housing area. That's an main access road, right? Have you
Access.
It,
traveled on that road?
yes, I do. Periodically, I do.
Do you think a pregnant person, 6 months of pregnant, could be traveling on that road
A
and
part
don't get an emergency call?
a part of.
It's ridiculous. And who signed off on that? Is that the standard that we must accept?
Well, on we shouldn't.
No,
Any
my point.
any right thinking, civilized society shouldn't. But we know who we have to deal with as a government.
Well, we need to stop it. And the
Yep,
only way
but
how you stop this, the fleecing of the economy and the disrespect of the citizens, is by being forceful as an opposition. These standards are not for today's society. It's for the old slavery days. We
mhm,
are behaving like we are still under slave masters, and we need to get out of it. The opposition parties need to start to put their differences aside and become much more forceful. We cannot sit back and jibber jabber. If you're going to be in the coalition, you got to take the heat. Come to the front. You can't be in the coalition and mumbling and then being buddies at the back door with the installed government. The people are suffering, and the whole idea is for the people to be comfortable. A happy nation will be a productive nation.
agree,
And
agree.
we need to get our people to be educated. It seems the way that people are behaving, about a third of this population is mentally retarded. That's how they're behaving. They don't seem to understand the urgency in securing a proper financial foundation for the country, or we are
Mhm.
going to be in hell.
But
Everybody's in here and filling their pockets from this country, and the citizens who are toiling to keep it going on a daily basis are not having any benefits.
Well, you see, Coretta, if I may
go
jump
ahead,
in a
go ahead,
bit. You
go ahead.
see, Junior, while I hear you that the opposition needs to do more, the opposition should be doing X and Y. It is just 31 of us. And 31 of us, each of us represent a total number of 67,000 persons. And it is the responsibility for all of us to rally, to mobilize our numbers, to bring people out. Guyanese now got to take a stand. We would have seen what the people in Suriname did. Corruption. Their government, the Santoki government, is being labeled or is being accused of being involved in
The money is gone
corruption.
from the bank, so
Good,
they
right?
it's full to them.
So what the people did, apart from the corruption, the whole cost of living situation, the people took a stand. They came out in their thousands to have their voices heard, right?
Right?
Right? And I'm sure
Yes.
they had, yes, their elected leaders amongst them. Let us go now to Sri Lanka. What we have seen, the people, they too had their
They came.
say, right? And I can recall just before the St. Lucia elections in it last year. I'm trying to remember the former prime minister's name, right? What happened? The St. Lucians came out against him for what? The whole COVID mismanagement and all manner of things. But the people came out in their thousands and demanded that a new elections be called And you know what? St. Lucia now has a new government led by Philip Perry.
Agree.
So we as a people, in this nation, Guyanese, we got to let our voices be heard. Too many wrongs are being done in this country, and we have remained silent. And because of us remaining silent, everybody now looking to the politicians. You look into Annette Ferguson. You look into Coretta McDonald. You look into Aubrey Norton. You look into Ganesh Mahipal. To make, yes, we have our role to play. But the people got to take a stand. Just two days ago, I was in a queue, and there was two young men ahead of me. And you know what were their conversation? They didn't recognize me being behind them because I was well masked up and everything. They're saying, you know what they're saying? They say that people got to take a stand. Too many wrongs are being done to us as Guyanese in this country. We need a revolution. We need a revolution. So when the young men look back and they recognize I was behind them, they said, we stop talking politics. I said, no, I enjoy the conversation. And I chime in too. And I reminded them. I said, look, I agree with everything that you guys have said thus far. We as a people got to come together. We got to come together and demand, call out this administration for all the wrongs, all the infractions they have placed on the backs of Guyanese.
But Annette, let me join in here. And I know Junior is waiting to chime in too. I'm going to have to disagree with you on part of what you've said there. Because yes, the people got to look to us. They have to look to us. They want leadership. And we have got to be able to provide that kind of leadership. You see, our people, while we expect our people to come out and support and do all that they want to do, we have got to be able to give them kind of guidance. We got to go out there into those communities. We got to touch those bottom houses, and we've got to meet them and highlight to them what is happening. Outside of that, we've got to bring to them to say, look, we got a speaker, a man who sits there as a speaker in the National Assembly. When you ask him question A, B, C, when you ask these questions of the ministers, he doesn't allow them to answer. On some occasions, he answers for them. And if they stand up to tell you, well, check the budget estimates, he's comfortable with that. So we have to give the kind of leadership that is so needed. And this is not about the opposition leader, and this is not about the leader of the AFC. This is about all of us who are leaders. We've got to go out there. We've got to meet our people, and then our people would be able to join us confidently and come out there in their numbers. And folks, let me say to all of us, this thing is about us, and not really about us at this stage. It is about our children and our grandchildren and the generations to come, because they're the ones who will suffer. They're the ones who got to pay the debts. So we got to come out. Let's encourage each other. Let's talk to each other in the marketplace, on the street corner, wherever we meet the people. Let's talk to them, and let's give them that kind of boost and the kind of support they need, so they'll come out to support us. And while we're on that note, I want to say good night to the regular suspects, Marlene and Claudette and Elroy and Ordell and Desiree and everybody else, Mr. Hussan, everybody else. We want to say good night to you, Hyacinth and Claire and Kurt and everybody else out there. Good night to you. Hey, call up your friends, tell them, share the live. So Junior, I'll invite you to throw in your bit there.
Now, Sister, that tried to defend you guys, right? The 31
No, I wasn't.
Yes, you did. And I admire for you because you're a team player. You're tough to see. But here I'm right with this. Yes, there are 31 MPs. But the coalition partners, these little parties, all have central executive members. Now, we know that the AFC recently chose a dozen executives, right? The PNC back in December got 15. Where are these people? what are the purpose of being executive if you can get out there to help the MPs and the leaders and the general secretaries and the chairpersons for the parties? The reason why you're on the Central Executive Committee is to build the party. It means get out in the trenches, go and meet the people, communicate with the parliamentary representatives so they'll have an understanding what is going on, because the parliamentary representative cannot be all the time out there because there are researches that has to be done. They're reading, their meetings that has to be done. You have to go and deal with foreign people to get proper knowledge of a situation that, they needed attention. So the central executive are supposed to be out there all the damn time. They're taking positions, kicking off people off the central executive body as you were kicked off, and the person who you're replacing you with don't do a damn thing. So how are the people being serviced when you're supporting a party that the members up there in the administrative body are not getting out to the people on the ground? What plan has they come up with the central executive to bring the party's loyalists back in fold? None. So how are you going to have this force to come and back up the MPs when the central executive body are not doing anything for the party? What are they, spies? Tell me, how can the party progress and grow when the people who are supposed to go and seek membership and bring people in fold or re-energize the group, they're not doing their job? So I'm going to run into parliament. I'm going to fight the PP. I know what I'm up against. Then I got to run out on the road and try to beg people, hey, stay with the party. We're going to get there in office in the next 25 years. Is that how they want it operated? The ones who are on the central executive body, they're supposed to be out there. They're the ones who got to meet these little groups, get things done, get programs in place where people are going to be interested in being a supporter of the coalition. You don't just take a position and then sit back and la with your buddies, and sporting every weekend in town. That they should be disqualified. They should be kicked out. There is a time when hard choices have to be made, and this is an important time in our juncture. If we don't get it right, the country resources is going to go into a selective few, and the rest of the population will always be suffering. We're going to end up with murders. Now you see in Lagrange, you had a break and enter. Fortunately, the homeowner was alive. One got shot, one got away. This thing is coming back now, where people are going into people's homes. Eventually, when you get hungry, you're going to go into somebody's home to get money to buy what you want and live this hustle lifestyle that we're accustomed to. So these foreign people that are in this country run around the place, are they concerned about the quality of life that Guyanese are facing now? No, it seems that everybody is always talking about minerals. Now we have China, who is an element of interest, who is a threat. Are we instructing our Guyanese government to stop the manganese exportation by the Chinese?
Mm-hmm.
You know what manganese is used for, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Are there anything, or the government putting a clamp on it, say, hey, no more exportation of our manganese? It's a dangerous tool. But because of corruption, we are allowing these things and we don't care what happens to the world.
That's true.
The predicament we're in now is because of foolish people who don't want to vote for progress. Now we are having a leadership body that don't care a damn about them until election time. When we had a caring government, guess what? We cussed them out of office. Right? Now we're crying. You imagine if this scenario, this starvation was under Mr. Granger? Because from morning till night. You see nobody saying anything now? Your own wrongdoing has caught up with the masses. Now, when they were cursing me on the 6th of March at Bad Settlement and talking about black man dog and poison out all black man, right? I told one lady in particular in the group, I get very, very angry. I said, everything that you plant, you're going to take it to the market and bring it back home. And nobody going to buy it from you. You see what happened today? they are hurting more, right? This is when you set a trap for people and you're ungodly. This is what you get now. Look at the direction we are. 700,000 plus people. We could have been in a much better position if we were honest and caring for each other. I don't care who rules the country. You're selected by the people, by the masses. Take care of the people. You wouldn't fight for office if you're doing the right thing. Nobody will vote you out of office. But you're showing people that this is not about not being knowledgeable. It's being wicked. For what is the reason why a handful of people must hold a whole country at ransom and suffer a country for their own personal regret? I don't know. And this needs to change. And if it has to change by whatever means, it will.
We can
and
change
we are
it.
going to have some sorry situation in this country. I am telling you, we are going to have it. It's not looking good.
Just looking at one simple example where there all of a sudden there was this big urgency to change the name of the police training college. Why are we doing this? And
because it's discriminatory behavior.
And then there was an attempt to remove the bust of LFS Burnham from President's College. Why are we doing these things? I just remarked a couple of days ago that the St. Sidwell's Primary School has always been the president's school. It has been adopted by the president, So whoever is the president, that person takes care of the needs of the children and the teachers who are attending that school. But we saw it in 1992 when the PDP came to power. They abandoned that school. Nothing was done to that school. And we've seen that all through. When we had the change of government, just before you go, when we had the change of government in 2015, we saw the president attempting to do a couple of things for that school. Now school gone right. It got right to square one again.
Correct.
And I'm saying the kind of hypocrisy that we have with these people. Now, after there was loud outcry, you're hearing now that only one word is going to be changed from Felix Austin Police College. You're changing college to academy. Now, if there wasn't a loud cry, it would have been changed. Why do we have to go down this road?
Because the current political party that was installed by the selective few American personnel are showing plainly they are totally against the accomplishment of prestigious Black leaders in this country.
Thank you.
And if the coalition does not stand up and start to fight and have dialogue with the international bodies to see that these people are systematically destroying every single thing that our founding father has done. You're seeing it. Look at when you go to Burma and you look at that total wreck. You look at all these areas that they're trying to change for what? They might as well take down Kofi and Critchlow and put up somebody's of their choice. Because it seems that they don't have respect of who fought for independence or freedom, actually.
But Junior, let me say to you, Critchlow's statue was erected by the PDP, and the monument at Enmore was erected by the PNC. But you know what? They don't pay homage to Critchlow. They go to Enmore to pay homage.
Because they're thinking that the whole thinking is that Blacks must not be super. Give credit where credit is due for one's accomplishment, regardless if they're East Indian or they're Blacks. And, I know this is a public platform. And choice of words sometimes, touch people. But there is a difference between certain ethnic groups. When we start to understand and differentiate certain people in certain ethnic groups, then we'll understand. Some people are up to no good because they are rotten from the start. They're showing total racial behavior, and we are not seeing the international people take a stand and school these people on a humanitarian and an international standards behavior. You cannot be a leader of a country and be this blatant to people because of ethnicity. If one is a criminal, throw the gauntlet. I am all for it. But do not disrespect people because of ethnicity or our accomplishment. Try to kick it out from our history books. We must be proud of who, and we have to be honest with ourselves. This current administration is behaving like a gangster body, and it has to stop. But who are the protectors for these people? Black hench people. You have these Uncle Toms, these house slaves. So that is what they're getting away with. They're not getting their hands dirty. They're only filling their pockets. The dirty work is done by black people. And it's like they have no sense. And you can correct me if I'm wrong. You're in there. You're seeing it. You give them a gun and a primo and some money in their pocket, and they ultimately become warriors. When a true war comes, they run. If you catch them alone, they beg like hell. That is what is destroying our country. We don't have unity. We don't have love anymore. Everybody is about how to fleece one another, and that's it. They don't care what happens to the communities. When a community starts to break down, it spreads to the extent, and the whole country goes. And the foreigners come and they enjoy all the sweet.
Yep.
Look at the situation with the Trinidad laborers versus Guyana laborers in the oil sector. We are not given an opportunity to learn, so we can send our people there so the money stays within our country. The money goes out. So it weakens the economy because we don't have the resources. That was the same reason when the coalition was in office, and I was very, very adamant about not selling out the sugar plantations lands because it's state asset. You're going to make a one-time profit, and the foreigners who buy these lands will be reaping and sucking all the profits out of the country. Now we are seeing the same giveaways here now with this administration. A foreign national owns so much land in the interior and all these mines, and this. How the country is going to develop? He will take the profits out of the country. We have school, we have health, we have our security system. The $400 million that you guys know that came out of the NRF fund, are we seeing it into our healthcare system? Are we seeing it in our security sector? Are we seeing it in our development, honest development? Look at the catch with these housing costs that they're telling us sling of cement for free. Why is it that we have such a large taxation percentage? Bring it down to 6% or 5% across the board. Don't worry about untaxable items. Put a low tax across the board. People will afford to pay their taxes. You have taxes being collected in every part of the world. Here we got to be selective. And when you go in the shop, you have two prices. It depends on who you are when you go into the shop doors. Are those the right behaviors? No. But we are not seeing the help from the international people because we are not fighting for it. As an opposition now that is being forced in this position, we need to have these things looked at. We need to have fair dealing, and we're not having it. You're seeing just a few. You're hearing the cries. No one is coming forward to help the people. Yes, it's a hard work with the MPs, but there are other people who need to come out there. This is a critical juncture for our economic future, and we need to attack it before we lose whatever little we have. And when we go down the drain, it's all over for us. We're going to be a colony.
But while we appreciate all that is being said there, and of course all of us, this battle is for all of us, and all of us as soldiers, we've got to put on our boots, we've got to put on our garments and come out there and support every act of injustice. Well, come out and stand up and stand out and speak out against every act of injustice that is being meted out to our people. But I want to play this one for us to hear so that the viewers can hear. Operator?
Rude and disrespectful to the speaker.
I'm asking
But you're the one who invent rudeness.
I invent rudeness when you say you're a bad boy.
honorable members.
I'm ready
on
for
my
all of
feet.
you, you know. I'm ready for all of you. Every one of you.
Boy, look.
I'm asking that
I'm
both
Prime
members.
Minister for 21 years. You
both
can't even
members,
leader of the
please.
opposition.
That's how
Cummins said that you love power, that he could never support you. You're power hungry.
Honorable Prime Minister, honorable member.
Don't ask me anything since sitting down. Don't ask me anything sitting down. You don't ask me stand up, man.
But you really out of place, you know.
Madam
Do you
Speaker.
recall the Minister of Finance
Madam
and
Speaker,
NDP must
I
suffer
was
and die?
speaking. I'm not giving way.
Do you
Rise on a
remember the
point of
Minister of
order.
Finance and NDP must suffer and die?
You think
You
anybody?
have been sitting here
Nobody
tonight
afraid
and
in this
people
house, you know.
sucking up all the insults
Sit
and
down.
injuries.
I look like something wrong with your eye. You should go and get spectacles. Eh?
Can we have the answer?
Don't be stupid and illiterate.
Let's have the answer to the supplementary question.
But you mean the question you ask is a stupid and illiterate question?
Well, that will have to be of a stupid and illiterate Prime Minister.
Honorable members.
Rude and disrespectful to the
That there is what transpired in the Parliament of St. Vincent and the Grenadines. And I'm sure I'm not going to be hearing about any member of Parliament who will be suspended. But you know what? We don't like straight talks here. We don't like when the facts are being given to us. We have a culture here where people feel that they can always oppress people and keep you down. So in order to oppress you and to keep you shut down, they suspend you so you can't speak in Parliament. But Annette, let me have your comments on this very quickly, and then we'll take Junior before we wrap up.
Coretta, it is an unfortunate situation where we have seen the breakdown of our guardrails, even at the level of the National Assembly. The National Assembly is a place where elected officials or elected representatives go there to advocate on behalf of their constituents and constituencies. And even outside of you advocating, you know, especially when it comes to the making of laws, because that is where laws are made, right? And what transpired on the 29th of December 2021, I don't think it is the first time, or it's the first time, right? We have had in past parliaments or national assemblies whereby, you know, people express their views differently. You have seen former PPP member Mr. Bashir sometime in between 1990 and 1991 remove the mace from the mace holder and took it to Mr. Chenny Jagan. But you hear then people call his action hooliganism and all manner of thing. Let us look outside of Guyana.
Vulgarity.
You know, in the UK, you'll see how people just fight, you know, official representatives just fight on behalf of their constituents. Look what happened in African countries too. You know, right here, that video that Josh showed in St. Vincent and the Grenadines, how elected officials stood up to the Prime Minister, who I guess is the head of government business there, and also the Speaker hardly could have contained that individual, but you know, that person was allowed to express themselves. So coming back home, we have a speaker who thinks is little charity dealing with in the National Assembly. So he wants to tell us when to go, when to come, what to say, what not to say, how it must be said, and how we must act. When, you know, we have clear-cut guidelines, you know, the standing order, the procedures of the National Assembly are very clear. But this speaker And you would have seen from the time we took the oath as MPs in September of 2020, Coretta, we had the spot. We had the Henry boys, where a motion was brought by a colleague of ours. That motion is still on the order paper, but it hasn't gone anywhere further because of a court matter, right? So we were denied to debate that motion. We had the motion brought by Mr. What's his name? David Patterson, on the flaring and the auditing of what is happening in our newfound resources. That too was shut down because of matters being sub judice in the court of law. We moved no confidence motion before the speaker, because he's supposed to be an impartial speaker, but he continues to show his hands at every sitting. So we had a no confidence motion, the diddy daddle. Now, that now was in the name of the former leader of the opposition, Mr. Joseph Harmon.
We had one against
then we had motions moved against Dr. Frank Anthony for his mismanagement of the whole COVID situation. We had another motion, no confidence motion, moved against Robeson Ben for his mismanagement of the security sector in this nation. You know what that speaker did? He, along with his surrogates in the PPP, got together and said that these two motions gotta go to the Attorney General's office for advice. Now it has been 1 year. It has been 1 year. We're yet to see the day of light where those two motions are concerned. Coretta, we have had a motion moved by our colleague Tabitha Sarbo Hali to change this archaic law, or I wouldn't even say it's a law. Probably it's an administrative procedure by a stroke of a pen that can change, where you entering the public service today, the 27th day of July 2022, you got to wait till October of 2022 to get your salary 3 months. Our colleague moved that motion to have it changed from 3 months to 1 month. Coretta, what they have done, they amended, and now bring an amendment to say that it can be done in reasonable time. What is reasonable time, Coretta? Reasonable time can be absolutely no time.
3 months, 6 months,
it can be
1 year.
absolutely no time. What we had, Coretta, is that a motion for us to discuss this issue of high cost of living in this country, the play football. The speaker, he is the man. Before any question, before any motion, or any matter is placed on the order paper, he has to approve. Coretta, this man approved that high cost of living motion. He was the person who gave the approval. But you know what?
He didn't read it.
He got together with his team. He got together with his team and decided that no, we can't discuss that because it is in contravention with Standing Order 25, right? 25.1 of the Standing Order. We had Mr. Ganesh Mahipal, who brought a motion to discuss the flooding situation last year, a matter of public importance. That item is catered for on the order paper. You understand me? We know that Guyanese communities had, experienced major damages last year due to the flooding in our country. They shut that down, Mr. Speaker. Shut it down. Because you know what? He got to consult with his people before. What happened just last week? Another motion under public matters of public importance. Sorry, the leader of the opposition moved a motion for us to debate this whole Sugate matter involving the alleged scandal between Mr. Sugate,
That's not urgent.
his boss man, and his landlord. And we know who that person is. You understand me? The speaker gonna tell us. Do you think we went to University of Iflot? He think we got fake degrees and fake diplomas or fake certificates to tell us that is not a matter for public importance when many right-thinking Guyanese who have voiced their opinions that an impartial and an independent investigation must be done into this matter. It is serious. And Coretta, as I'm on that, we in the opposition, we have called for Mr. Barrow Jagdeo to resign. Resign and let an investigation be conducted. Any right-thinking leader, any leader who worth his salt and who claimed not to be corrupt would see the need to recuse himself from office and let an investigation go ahead so that I can defend myself, so that I can be vindicated. But Coretta, our listeners, your viewers, these people don't care. So for everything that we have brought to the National Assembly, whether questions, whether motions, whether you stand on a point of order, whether you try to bring something to the attention of the speaker, he pays us no mind. Coretta, we have seen, we have been exposed to the lowest of things in the National Assembly. Persons, telling people they want dildo. You want a dildo. You had one man stood up in the National Assembly exposing something looking like a dildo during his budget presentation. You had another member who abused one of our colleagues. And still, this speaker who ought to be impartial, paid that no mind. Because you know what? He never hear what the other side saying. But he always hearing. He always hearing in his left ears what the opposition got to say. But when it comes to the right ears, where the government side is on, he gets deaf. It's a pity. I don't know where our nation is going. The 12th parliament of this nation
is the worst.
It's the worst parliament. The worst parliament. I have served in the 10th and 11th parliament. I have never seen the parliament degraded to this extent.
And the man who chairs the sittings is the worst ever speaker that we would have had. But Annette, I want to thank you so much. I notice our time has run away and left us. And so we're going to have Junior giving us his closing remarks. Junior, I know you're smiling. When you listen to Annette, you have to smile.
I would like to ask Annette, if someone is on a party's list, are they qualified to be the speaker? Can they be chosen as speaker?
Yes.
If they're on the top of list?
I think we're still, look, I don't want to give.
It's an issue that we're still debating.
Must look into it. And since we are in the parliament, I don't think the deputy speaker position should have been given to those two joined the parties. It should have been the coalition.
Yeah, the constitution is clear.
Good. Yeah. So you're seeing the blatant disrespect for the constitution in parliament, the highest office, and the behavior of some of the parliamentarians there are ridiculous. They're behaving like if they're in a rum shop. When you get to the main stage, you have to leave some of the baggage at home. We are not perfect people, but conduct yourself in a proper manner and show some respect. Guyana is a country where everybody knows everybody. So why would you be that disrespectful, as in the case of that little Pee Wee Herman talking about dildo? You know what I mean? When you want to run those talks, that is behind closed doors. You don't behave that disrespectful in the highest office. So that is what I was telling you guys about, the total disrespect from some people in this country. They don't have the proper etiquette to be in leadership position. Because they're so dirty minded and evil that all they're thinking about is how to disrespect people who don't agree with them. Now, coming down to the NRF fund, I do hope that we have some clarity so the citizens can know where the money's went to. Because it's unfair for $400 million to be, dumped into the consolidated fund, and we are not seeing anything out of it, any benefit in this crisis. What are they going to do about the gas price that is stuck up there? Are they going to reduce the gas price to help the motorists and help to drive down
the ordinary class?
I didn't hear you, Coretta.
I'm saying, what are they going to do to help the ordinary people in this country?
Right. And I would like to see the opposition, come out there and start to be a force to reckon with. It's an important juncture. Hold the PPP feet to the fire. We have a lot of interest from the North American folks. This is an opportunity to expose a lot of wrongdoing. Now, if the North American people cannot intervene, then we would have known that there's self-interest. So we'll have to revert to other measures to make sure Guyanese are comfortable. We cannot sit back and allow our country to go into the pockets of a selective few. The people are the ones who must benefit. When we select the government, they are there for us. We must not be held ransom by any government, regardless of the coalition or the PPP or any other party. The people are the most important assets of a country. Forget all the minerals. The people. If you can't take care of your people, you cannot be there for the people. We must stop the corruption.
Junior and Annette, I want to thank you so much for being here with us on Advancing the Cause. It's always a privilege to have you. And yes, of course, we are going to mobilize the people. We're going to walk those streets. Junior, we're going to walk the streets on the quarantine. And as
by the way, Coretta, that toy drive, that school drive that you wanted to start for the kids in this area, I have somebody who is versed and who love doing those things, will be ready to be with you and to get that initiative off, you said in mid-August, right? So we can help the families to ease off some of the financial stress.
Yeah, thank you.
Right.
And so, as I speak to you, I'm vividly reminded of the images I saw in Manchester, the dam leading down there to Manchester. That's the Canal Dam, not the Clear Brick Road, the road just before that one, which is mud. The dam at Ulverston, the one at Alness there, going down to the back dam, that street there, which is the main thoroughfare. Because of the heavy rainfall that we've been having, it is messy. The road that leads into Nerney, muddy. I don't know what is happening, but we have got to be able to hold this installed regime and get them to fix those streets where our people are residing, because those people are bona fide Guyanese. Viewers, I want to thank you for being here with us. Without you, we would have no advancing the cause. We look forward to seeing you again next Wednesday at 6:30 p.m. But for now, wear your mask. Those who are the expo and people come and hold you and so, go get tested to find out what is happening with you, because we recognize people walking around this place with their COVID and they're happy to share it. We want to have healthy people in our country. So go get tested, wear your mask, sanitize, and remember to tell your neighbors and to tell your friends and to remind your family members that we've all got to wear our mask. All of us have got to come out and dive into what is in this country, the resources, because it belongs to us and we ought to be beneficiaries. Sue came and Sue got a whole lot, plus Sue shared, and so we must have a part of what was shared. On that note, I want to say, take care, goodbye, God bless you, see you next week.
Thank you for watching our program. See you right back here, same place, same time. And remember, hold the line of battle, comrades. Our victory is sure.